Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 2021-2022 school year new parent orientation night. You may have just gotten a message that this is also being live streamed. It is going out on YouTube Live. It's a new function that we have available with these webinars, and we're trying it out tonight. So that's an option just you have. My name is Shelton Mooney. I'm the principal at BCC, and we are excited to start the school year and be able to meet with you today. I will share with you that earlier today, we had the opportunity at New Student Orientation to have live and excited and full of energy students in our building, and it was spectacular. We didn't get an exact count, but we had a gym full, and it just felt good. So I'll speak for the people from BCC on the call. We're really looking forward to next Monday, and our staff are too. So tonight we're going to share some information with you about how BCC works if you're a new parent to BCC, or if you're an experienced parent, just in case some of those things have changed. I know sometimes people like to come back to see what might be a little bit different. So we're going to work through a few things here. Ms. Roscala, next slide. So just want to share with you who is with you tonight. So again, my name is Shelton Mooney, and I'm the principal. We also have Ms. Christine Roscala, who will do most of the presentation tonight. We'll also be hearing from representatives from the BCC Ptsa and the BCC Educational Foundation, so that we can hear about those programs and how they support our students and our staff in really making BCC the best school that it can possibly be. Ms. Roscala, I cannot hear you.
Sorry. Bienvenidos a todos. Ahorita solamente para esta parte voy a traducir lo que mencionó el doctor Mooney. Ahorita el director de la escuela es doctor Shelton Mooney. Él va a presentar una parte hoy, y también yo soy la señora Christine Roscala y voy a presentar otra parte. Si hablan español, estoy poniendo el link de esta presentación en español en el chat ahorita, y ustedes pueden seguir la presentación en español en tu propia computadora. Estoy poniendo el link ahorita en el chat.
Thank you, Ms. Roscala. So just a little bit of information about tonight. If you've done one of these with us before, you know this, but I want to make sure that everybody knows how this will operate. This is a Zoom webinar, which means that you can see us, but we can't see you. We just see a number down at the bottom that says 262 right now on my screen. So that's how many people are in this meeting. We'll be presenting information that's important. I do have the rest of the BCC administrative team. You just heard from Ms. Roscala, but I have the other assistant principals and our school business administrator here answering questions through the question and answer session. So if you're on a computer or on a phone even, you should see a Q&A option. So if you have a question that you have in your mind, you can put it in the Q&A and someone will answer it. And at the end, if we have time, we'll come back to any ones that were common themes. You may also be told, we're going to get to that in a few slides, because they do know what's going to be going on. And the last thing is just a reminder that we are recording this session. Actually, it's on YouTube Live right now for other people to view later who could not attend tonight. So I want to share with you the agenda for tonight. So we're going to start in just a minute by hearing from Ms. Winnick and the PTSA. We're going to hear from the Educational Foundation, talk a little bit about some of the support structures that we have in place, go over our bell schedule. If you're a new parent or a returning parent, there's some changes this year for that. Talk about grading, graduation requirement, some student expectations, how you can get involved and how your children can get involved, and talk a little bit about our IB middle years program and diploma program. But we will start first with Ms. Winnick.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mooney. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to BCC. I am the president of the PTSA. This is my second and final year. So we are well versed in in-person, virtual, hybrid, and almost any question that you might possibly have. The PTSA collaborates very closely with the school and the school administration. And Ms. Roscala, if I could ask for the next slide, please. We support students, parents, teachers in our school. We do that through grants. We do that through teacher and staff appreciation. We make sure that our teachers and our staff know that they are cared for throughout the year in all kinds of ways. We bought lunch for them today to help with that on their first full day back with students. We have a program, BCC Cares, to help our families in need. We do a food pantry and other supports for our families in need in our community. We fund student clubs and activities. We run a college advisory committee with college information sessions, essay writing help, standardized tests, support, things like that. We are hoping to bring back our used book sale this year, which is our biggest fundraiser and community event. Our fingers are still crossed and toes are crossed on that one. We have peer parents for school-wide and grade support, health and wellness programming. And we also offer diversity parents council and Latino families representative and more. It's really too much for one slide. But if I could leave you with the most important message of the evening, which is next slide, please. Please join our listserv if you have not. This is a very different style of listserv from what you may be used to in a middle school. We provide all kinds of information and quick updates, things on Board of Education updates. I can give you a really quick example. When we all learned that this meeting was going virtual, Dr. Mooney was unable to put something out immediately, so the PTSA sent out a heads up with more information to follow from Dr. Mooney. We are also a great resource for answering your questions. And this is the primary place to get information on sports teams, both the school-sponsored and club, parent organizations, boosters, music boosters, information on the college and career events, and recaps of what's going on with Ncps and Board of Education meetings. So all you have to do is hold up your phone to scan that QR code, or if you miss it, when the slides go up, it will take you right to the page to sign up for the listserv. It's free, it's only school related, and it really helps. We'd also love to have you as a member, a volunteer, and a donor. It's all volunteer parents, and it only works with you. So next slide, please. We are here. Everybody is welcome. Anybody can join. Anybody can ask any questions. It's free to participate in the listserv. It's free basically to do everything. We are here to support you. We are all experienced parents, and we know that high school is a challenge, and particularly a challenge during COVID. Please reach out anytime on the listserv on our website. You can always find a link to my email. I am happy to put you in touch with someone if you're, anything that you might possibly need. We're here for you and to support you and to make sure that your student and you have a great year and a great experience at BCC. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Winnick. And now we're going to hear from Mr. Matt Gandel, who's the president of the BCC High School Educational Foundation.
Thank you, Dr. Mooney, and good evening, everyone. Terrific to be with you. I would much rather be, though, in the auditorium as originally planned. I know we all would, but those days will be ahead of us, and at least our students are all in person next week in class. So I'm excited about that. So I'm a parent at the school. I have a daughter going into her senior year, and I had two sons that already graduated from BCC. I also have deeper connections to the school because I myself am a graduate of BCC. So my roots run deep, and that's one of the reasons I'm really, really excited to be the president of the Educational Foundation job, which I have held for years and have absolutely loved. Just real quick, stepping back from the details, BCC is a really amazing place and an amazing school. And for me, it really set me up for success in ways that I had no idea about when I was a student at the school. Only in reflecting and seeing the world from the outside that I recognize how lucky I was to have the BCC education that I got in a terrific public school in a great community. Frankly, built my professional career around trying to help ensure that was the case for more students around the US. But upon reflection, I think it was the combination of really high quality academics combined with a very diverse student body that makes BCC so special. It made BCC special when I was there. And the educational foundation that I'm president of was created really to try to help foster those two things and ensure that they continue to make BCC a world-class institution for years to come. So we were created about 25 years ago, a nonprofit organization, all volunteer board of directors. And essentially we work as a collaborator with the school, and we're a complementary organization to the PTSA. So we work in collaboration with the PTSA, but we raise dollars to provide larger investments in programs and strategies at the school that can spur innovation, raise the ceiling in terms of academic achievement, and also raise the floor and try to close all equity gaps at the school. So it's really exciting to be part of it. We've made a lot of strides in the years that we've been around, and I'll give you a little bit of quick feel for what some of the things that we support are, and then close out with ways you can get involved. If you go to the next slide, as I said before, we're all about student success. BCC has been known for that for years, but I think frankly, it's partly because we have a really active community around BCC who helps support the teachers and the students, even if Ncps or others are not. So we raise over $200,000 a year at the foundation to invest back in the school. And if you go to the next slide, I'll give you a sense of some of the ways we do that. A big focus on academic supports so that any student who's struggling or who wants to go further and faster has access to resources to do that. We fund a after-school academic support program called TAP that any students can access. I'll come back to that in a few minutes because it should be accessible to any of your students right away in the next few weeks. That I'll come back to. We fund a variety of programs to help advance STEM at BCC, particularly for underrepresented students and for girls, as we know, all of whom need to get more opportunities in that field to be successful after BCC. But we're huge supporters of advanced coursework at BCC. We were originally the entity that helped bring the International Baccalaureate program to BCC many years ago, and we were proud to do that as the first high school in the county that made it open access and you didn't have to test your way in, and now it's a thriving program at BCC. We hope your students might take advantage of it, and we are full supporters. And then another example, looking at the front end, we have funded for years 9th and 10th grade summer academies to provide students who are coming into BCC as freshmen or continuing on as sophomores an extra set of academic supports over the summer and leadership engagement so they feel really successful when they arrive. If you go to the next slide, on the sort of back end of high school, we're very big supporters of preparing students for college and for careers. We fund a program called College Tracks that I'll come back to in a few minutes. That's a highly successful college access program for first generation college students. We fund a college essay workshop every summer for students who want to get ahead of the curve on getting their college essays completed and they need help from BCC teachers, Minority Scholars Program, and a variety of other special initiatives with the goal that, frankly, every student that attends BCC should have multiple post-secondary opportunities. And we know that these days you have to go on and get a post-secondary credential to have a real shot in the economy. So we value that greatly. The third thing I want to mention is we're there for teachers. If you go to the next slide, we recognize that the quality of the teachers at BCC is what makes the school so great. And sometimes they need extra support and training to build their skills and experiences. So we put a set of money aside every year to support professional development and training for BCC teachers. And we give Dr. Mooney access to that professional development fund so he can invest it in ways that he thinks will best support advancement and excellence at BCC. We're really excited to do that again this year. And then the last thing I want to mention, most of your students will have experienced this morning. If we go to the next slide, it's a relatively new program that the foundation and the PTSA co-sponsored called Link Crew. Hopefully your students came back today and perhaps said some nice things about it, but this is a nationally recognized program that we brought to BCC a few years ago when we recognized we were going from one middle school feeding into the high school to 2 middle schools. And there'll be a lot of students arriving who hadn't met each other before. And essentially it's a peer-to-peer mentoring program that supports freshmen through the whole freshman year by bringing upperclassmen mentors together with them in small groups. And we're really excited that it will be going this year again, and we hope that your students will benefit not only today, the orientation, but throughout the year. Next slide, if you could. I mentioned TAP, the after-school program. I want to just flag it right now because students won't always know they have access to this resource. So any of your students who are struggling, who are preparing for a test or an exam, or just want some extra time with teachers, can go and get that extra time after school in the core subjects. If you go to the school website, you'll probably be able to see when TAP will start and which days it will be offered. But we really want to encourage your students to take advantage of this if they need any extra help. It's BCC classroom teachers staying extra after school in all the core subjects to help our students succeed. So please check it out. And the other thing I wanted to flag is College Tracks on the next slide. Major program at BCC, as I said, that supports first-generation college-going students and families to make sure they can get into college and get financial aid to college. It's incredibly successful. Keep your eyes open for that. If your students might be interested and eligible, there'll be outreach in the early years, and by 11th grade, there'll be formal opportunities to start participating. The program has been so successful at BCC that they've expanded it to 4 or 5 other high schools at BCC, and we're really proud to have been the original supporter of it. Next slide. This is just some information about how to get more engaged with us at the foundation. Everything we do because we involve the community, and we frankly raise money and get donations from parents and community members. So if you're so inclined, you can look at the screen, and there's a phone number you can text, and it'll get you access to the website to potentially make a donation or just learn more about what we do and see if you're interested in getting involved. And then the last slide, if you go to the next slide, has a URL that you could, if you take a picture of this, perhaps, and go to this link later, it will allow you to sign up for our listserv. And we, again, are very collaborative with the PTSA, but we have probably less frequent communications and more about some of these strategic programs that are available to your students, and sometimes events we hold to try to bring the community together to build support for the school. So if you go to this URL and you sign up, we'll periodically send you information and keep you updated. And I hope we can get to meet at some point in person, and I'd love for you to get involved in what we do. We're only as strong as our community and our parents and our volunteers. So have a great year. Thanks for letting me join you this evening, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Mooney.
Thank you, Mr. Gandel and Ms. Winnick. I would like to say on behalf of our students and staff, we really do appreciate the support that you all provide and the opportunity that we have to work with you, and the way you are willing to really allow us to expand the opportunities we give students and really let teachers do what they do best without any really barriers in that way. So we do appreciate that. I'm going to turn it over now to Ms. Roscala, who's going to talk a little bit about our student supports.
Thank you, Dr. Mooney. Good evening, everyone. I am Christine Roscala, and I'm going to go ahead and transition us into some student support structures that we have here at BCC. So we're going to go ahead and start with an introduction of our administrative team. So we're going to start with Ms. Teicher, please.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Deborah Teicher, and I'm the school business administrator, and I have the great privilege of working not only with our teachers and student groups, but with our parent organizations. Welcome to BCC.
Mr. Nelson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Douglas Nelson. I'm one of the amazing administrators here at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School, and it is a privilege to be with you tonight. This year, I will be supporting students specifically with last names with S C through Z, which is the latter part of the alphabet. That is a new structure for us. So please know if there's any support that I can provide to you, a question that you have, or just something that's burning that you want to fire a question off to one of us. I am here to address that question for you all. This is my 3rd year at BCC. I'm so excited to come back. My 11th year as an assistant principal with Montgomery County Public Schools. And I would just like to say this evening, Mr. Gandel was saying how amazing BCC is. And one of the things that really makes our school so amazing is how engaged our students are with our school. So if your kids are new to our school, please encourage them to get involved in groups that they are passionate and interested in. What they give back to our school really creates a wonderful building to learn in. It's wonderful to be with you tonight.
I'm Christine Roscala. I am a new administrator here. I am an assistant school administrator, and this is actually my very first year as an administrator in NCPS. I was formerly a Spanish teacher at Gaithersburg Middle School and a world languages content specialist. So I am extremely excited to be a part of this amazing BCC team. I've been here for 1 month, and I can truly say that the staff and the students today was amazing. I had link leaders like Mr. Gandel spoke about, and they were just on top of it. They pretty much, I gave them a set of instructions and they ran the show, supported our students, welcomed our students, and it was just an amazing experience to see all the students in the gym excited to be back, and especially having students facilitate that event in the gym. This year, I will be supporting students in grades 9 through 12 with the last names of A through C. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Good evening. My name is Vicki Adamson, and I'm one of the assistant principals here. And this is my 2nd year at BCC. I came last year during the pandemic, and it was very interesting. And so today was really special to welcome students back into the building. And as everyone has been describing, we had a wonderful event with the Link crew today, and to see almost 150 upperclassmen who were serving as Link leaders to welcome our freshmen was extremely special. I am a longtime educator in Montgomery County. I'm a former English teacher, and I am also the mother of 2 MCPS graduates. So I definitely share your goals of looking for success for your all children in any way that we can, and making sure that education is equitable and a quality education for students. I am going to be the 10th grade activities administrator, and I do want to give a special acknowledgement to the PTSA and the foundation for supporting activities such as the social that we closed out the year with last year for the 10th grade. And I just want to say on that note, we're going to do everything we can to make their time special, knowing that last year, their first year in high school was such an unusual one. So we welcomed many 10th graders back today during the orientation, and we will continue to look for ways that we can welcome them. I am going to have the last names of students with D through HI, students in 9th through 12th grade, D through HI. So please reach out to me if you have any questions, and welcome, and thank you for being here.
Good evening, everyone. My name is David Mulgera. I'm one of the assistant principals here at Bethesda Chevy Chase High School. This is my 3rd year at BCC High School, having been working in Prince George's County as an administrator as well. I'm a former social studies teacher, in addition to also being a musician as well. And I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. We know it's an exciting time for all of us today, this morning, as we welcome so many kids into the building for the first time. And as a matter of fact, many of us on the admin team and the staff members were just kind of joking about how we really have like 2 9th grade classes, because last year was such a difficult year for everybody. And we had many people not even step foot into the building last year when we did allow students to come in for partial in-person learning. But as you can see here on the screen, I do support students with the last name HJ through MC. And I'm also the class of 2023 class activities administrator as well. So we're looking forward to meeting you all, hopefully sometime soon. We are looking forward to working with our students and our families to really push them to higher heights. And we know that we're going to have a great year this year. So thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Rebecca Sutton. This is my 4th year at BCC. I'm the last of the amazing administrators, as Mr. Nelson introduced us. I do want to make a quick comment because I do see a question in the chat. On the screen, you see that each of us has our class listed, and you've heard us say class activities. That has to do with the group that we will be supporting the activities for. For instance, I'm class of 2022 or 12th grade. So I will be engaging with our class of 2022 SGA, working on prom, working on graduation, working on all the senior stuff. And each of us will be supporting a specific group of student activities. And then our student support, what typically had been by grade level, is now going to be alphabetical so that we can provide even more support aligned with specific counselors. So you'll really have a very cohesive student support team. And so I will be supporting students in grades 9 through 12 with last names MD through SB, the second to last chunk of the alphabet. And I am just really thrilled to be back here with students in the building. I have my youngest starting kindergarten this year, so I'm feeling what I'm sure many of you are also feeling in being a little anxious about my child having their very first experience in a building being what all of this is about to be. So I completely understand where some of you are coming from with that, and we're all in it together. We've got this, and it's going to be a great year.
Thank you all. So we are going to transition. I know Rebecca just touched upon this, but I'm going to just share briefly. So this year we have a new structure. We have an activities administrator, and an activities administrator really supports the grade level with class-wide activities like graduation, like orientation. So like Miss Rebecca, like Miss Sutton mentioned, as the senior class administrator, she's supporting with graduation, and I am the class of 2025, so I am supporting with orientation and 9th grade activities. However, as far as academic and social emotional support and behavioral situations, we have a student support administrator, and that is based off of last names. So based off of a student last name, an administrator has been assigned. And we as administrators also work closely with 2 counselors to support our students. So you could see that here. And again, this presentation will be made accessible and is accessible on our school website right now. So speaking of counselors, we have on the screen here, you could see our counselor breakdown, which is broken down by last names. And this is also found on our school website. So counselors, and I'll share this here in a second, counselors are really here to support students with academic, with social emotional, and students can drop in to see their counselors. They can email their counselors. Their contact information is on the website. Counselors are also available to speak with parents and to host and coordinate parent-teacher conferences. And they're currently working really hard with creating schedules. We have a lot of students that are coming to us internationally, and they're just working really hard to get those schedules complete. So here on the screen, I just thought it would be kind of helpful because there are so many moving pieces in a high school, so many different structures of support. So on the screen here, you see a continuum of support, and really it should be a circle because we're all working together to support students and families to make sure that they're having the best experience possible at BCC. So really, when we think of academics, if a student is having issues in a class or not understanding the material, the first step really is to communicate with the teacher. And then the next step from the teacher, there's the resource counselor who really, the resource teacher who works closely with that teacher, and they have a relationship. So there's the resource teacher who is kind of the supervisor of that department, and they are the expert in that content. And then there's the counselor that's always a support for students and families. And then, like I mentioned before, you have that administrator that supports students based off of their last name. And ultimately, you then have the principal that is there at the end. So these are all the people that are here to support you. So that is there for you. Another support structure that is coming back is my Ncps classroom, Canvas. We will be using a school-wide template that students will be able to access in all of their classes. So teachers will be posting materials on there. So that is the support that students have for notes or for handouts. That is all there again for students. And they're also able to communicate with teachers that way. So I'm going to transition us into schedules, and we are going to, and it may or may not be similar to what student schedules were like in middle school, but here at BCC, we have a 7-period day, and we start our day bright and early at 7:40 in the morning. I saw that today, buses start rolling in really early, so that could be a transition for students. But as you can see, we have a 7-period day, and our day ends at 2:30. This bell schedule is also available on our website. Something that is new this year is our advisory period. So the schedule you saw on the previous slide is the schedule for Monday through Thursday. However, on Friday, we have an advisory period that is 50 minutes long, and this is on a rotating basis through each period and then homeroom. The purpose of advisory really was to meet the needs of our students. And in advisory, teachers will have the opportunity to build community within their classes, really to enhance their relationships with students, to provide academic support. So this is an opportunity where students can see a teacher to get clarity about a topic, to plan a retake. And we also are using advisory periods to really focus on social emotional learning. We know right now more than ever, our students really need that guidance. So we have structured lessons that students are going to be engaging in, as well as engaging in restorative justice practices during these advisory periods. So here on this screen, you could see an example of what our advisory schedule looks like. The bell schedule does change from one Friday to the next. So if you see, for example, on September 10th, we have advisory period 2. And I didn't include advisory period 1, which will be the first Friday of the school year. It's a modified schedule, and you'll see that shortly because of assemblies and pep rallies. So I started with advisory period 2. It's attached right at the end of period 2. So students will stay in that class. And the really great thing is they get to rotate and build relationships and see different students and engage with different students in advisory throughout their different periods. And this schedule is also available and will be available to students and families on our website. So I just wanted to take a minute to talk about the first week schedule. And this, of course, will be shared with students on the very first day of school. And I guarantee a lot of them will just take a picture of it, but I just wanted to share what will be going on during the first week of school. Monday, we really start with homeroom, and that is just to get student schedules to make sure that everybody has that central location where they're meeting and getting the same information. And then they just go through their 7 periods that day. On Tuesday, students will have a completely normal schedule where they're starting with period 1. On Wednesday, they are also having a normal schedule where they'll go to their period 1 through 7. And Thursday will be similar to Monday, where they go to homeroom during the morning, right when they come to school. And then they'll go through their 7 periods that day. And that, again, is to get safety information and to practice some drills. So we have that on Thursday. And on Friday, we have our very first advisory with a modified schedule where students will be getting information at assemblies, grade level assemblies, and then at the very end of our day, we're going to have a pep rally for our students to just end the week with some fun. So I'm going to talk to you all a little bit about grading, which is significantly different than middle school grading. High school grading really is based off of semesters. And when we look at students' grades, they will still get report cards with quarterly grades, but ultimately what is on a student's transcript. So for semester 1, their grade will be first quarter and second quarter will equal their final course grade for semester 1. So we're talking about the grade on the transcript. And the same is for semester 2. So their semester 2 grade is third quarter plus fourth quarter is that final grade for that semester. And this is really important when we talk about credits. So here on the next slide, when you're wondering how do you get that final grade, this is a lovely chart created by Ncps. So for example, if I earned a C in marking period 1, that will appear on my report card. And if I earned a D in marking period 2, my final course grade is a C for that class. So what will appear on my transcript, for example, if I earned that grade in Algebra 1, what will appear on my transcript for semester 1 is that C. Again, students will have the letter grade shown for the report card per quarter. So students are graded, students on their transcript will have grades based off of the semester grade. In order to access their grades, Student View is how students can get to their grades, their schedule. It has a wealth of information. And from the student perspective, it's actually, in my opinion, very easy compared to the teacher perspective of Synergy and Student View. I really did want to take a moment to share with you all, and I saw a ton of students today just whip out their phones and they were just experts. So there is an app for Student and Parent View, and this is a really great tool for you to stay on top of students' grades and ensuring that you can see them and students can see them. So as Mr. Gandel presented, teachers are available to support students with their academics. My biggest thing is if a student doesn't understand, they should really go to their teacher. That's the first source. But we also have supplemental supports to provide students with support for academics. We have the Time for Academic Progress, and that is a free after-school tutoring. We also have an amazing peer partners held by or coordinated by Miss Heald in the College and Career Center, where again, we have a peer, an upperclassman tutoring someone or a 9th or 10th grader in an area that they may be having trouble in. So those supports are available. We also have honor societies that can support students in specific areas. So for example, we have a French honor society if a student needs support with French work, and they can get that peer tutoring. So very, very important to understand our graduation requirements. And like I referenced before, Synergy has a great way for students to kind of see where they are and to keep track of these graduation requirements. Student View has that for students to be able to keep track of their progress towards graduation. Like I mentioned before, credits are very important. And when we talk about credits, we're talking about that final semester grade. So in order to graduate, students need a total of 22 credits. And students earn half a credit for a class each semester. And that's if and only if they earn a passing grade, a D and up. So at the end of their 9th grade year, if they earned a passing grade in all 7 classes for first semester, they will have 3.5 credits. And by the end of the year, if they successfully pass those all 7 classes, they'll have a total of 7 credits by the end of their 9th grade year. So on the screen here, you see the breakdown based off of the subject and the amount of required credits. Now, this is an MCPS requirement. So in order to graduate, all students need to have 4 credits coming from English, 3 credits coming from social studies, and it's required to have US history, NSL, and modern world history. Same with science. They tell you the exact courses that students need. They need biology, chemistry, and physics. And then you could also see the other courses that they need required credits in. You could see here on the screen that for health, just starting with this incoming class, students will, incoming 9th grade class, 9th graders will now need 1 full credit of health to graduate. So if you are a parent or guardian of a 10th grade student currently, they only need half a credit of health to graduate. So that is a change. In addition to those courses that they need to have in order to graduate, students also need to have 75 student service learning hours in order to graduate. And I can tell you there are a ton of opportunities for them to get those hours. In addition, there are state tests that they must pass in Algebra 1, English 10, NSL Government, and then they also have to pass the Maryland Integrated Science Assessment in order to graduate high school. So Dr. Mooney is going to take us all through some student expectations that we have here at BCC.
Thank you, Ms. Roscala. Can we go to the next slide? So I want to start by talking about kind of what's on everybody's mind right now. And that is the situation that's going on with increases in COVID cases and the safety protocols that we're putting in place and all of the questions that's around what happens if. And we've thought through a lot of those as a school. We've thought through a lot of those as a system, and the county health department has. And we have some answers. And sometimes we have to know that we don't have an answer yet, and we may have to change course at any point. I do want to share with you a little bit tonight about some of the things that we have going on at BCC and in Ncps. But we are really going to share more detailed information, especially about what happens if students have to quarantine a little later this week, which is just tomorrow, as soon as our plan is approved. So the first is just a reminder that both Montgomery County and Ncps require masks when you're indoors. Today we had, again, we had a lot of students in our building. We didn't have any issue with masks, but it's just a reminder that is an expectation that we have, that you wear masks. If you need a mask, we have masks we can give students. We have those available. Masks break sometimes. We're prepared for that, but it is a reminder that that's there. So the next thing is that we do ask, if your child is ill, if they've been exposed to a COVID positive person or has tested positive, please keep them at home and contact the school. We'll likely have you speak with our school nurse so that they can talk with you about what needs to be done and kind of how we go through that. But we're asking, if your child is ill in any way, if they've been exposed to a COVID positive person or tested positive, please do not send them to school. If we do have an instance where there is an exposure to a COVID positive person, direct contact with that, the Department of Health and Human Services has a contact tracing protocol that we will follow with a confirmed positive test. And anytime we have one of those confirmed positive tests, we do share that with the community along with specific information. And many of you may have gotten a letter, I believe, early last week from me via ConnectEd that said that there was a positive case. When you get that letter, if it says that all of the people who had contact have been notified, who may have been exposed, if you didn't hear anything from us at BCC, that means that we didn't identify you, or the Department of Health and Human Services didn't identify you through the contact tracing protocol, and you were not exposed. So that's important to know. If there was a risk of you having a direct exposure, then someone from school will be personally in touch with you via phone and try to make sure that you know what's going on and know what we need to do. If there is an exposure at school, we are maybe in a situation where students are unvaccinated and exposed, and unvaccinated students would have to quarantine, but we will make sure that they still have access to their coursework and instruction and opportunities to interact with their teachers. We are, again, we're just developing these plans. They are due tomorrow to my director, and then they'll come out as soon as possible. But the goal is to ensure that we have an opportunity for students who have to quarantine, because this may not be their fault in any way, if they're unvaccinated, but we want to make sure that if they have to quarantine, that they're able to continue with their education, although not as necessarily the ideal situation that it would be if they were in the building, but we want to be able to continue to allow them to not lose any progress. Can we go to the next screen, Ms. Roscala? So an important part of BCC is really shifting away from COVID now for a couple of things. So is attendance. The first part of being successful is being in class. And you'll see up in the top right corner, attendance matters all day, every day. We really do know that when we have students in class, that is where they're able to get the first instruction from the teacher. They're able to ask questions. They're able to interact with their peers in a way that allows them to have their questions answered and to really understand what's going on. And so we encourage you to have your child in class, on time, every day, all day. We do have a 5-minute transition between classes. And you may have noticed a few slides back when Ms. Roscala was talking about the first day. Or if your child is new to BCC, they may have come home and said, it's a crazy building. It's all cobbled together and it's almost impossible to get around that building as quickly as possible. So we do, in the first few days, give a little bit more time, but 5 minutes between classes is enough time to get to those classes. When students get to 3 unexcused absences in a class, teachers are asked to have a conversation with them and to contact home just to make sure you're aware of what's going on. We also do record unexcused tardies, and 3 unexcused tardies in our attendance system and in the calculation is equal to an unexcused absence. If your child does have to miss class, we do need you to turn in a note to the attendance secretary, Ms. Avilas. There is a box that says, it's noted on the slide there, that where you drop your note off, it is in the attendance atrium, which is in the one of the main hallways of the school on the first floor. That note should include your child's name, student ID, the reason for the absence, and the dates that it includes. And we are MCPS policy says that within 3 days of returning from an absence, we need to have that note, or the absence will be marked as an unexcused absence. And the last thing is open lunch. This is a new thing for students who are coming to us in 9th grade. I want to make sure everybody understands it. So we have 1 lunch period every day. It's about 40 minutes, and that allows all of our students to eat at one time. We do have an open lunch policy that allows students to leave school property and go into Bethesda, to walk across the street, to enjoy the restaurants that are there in the area, and then come back to school at the end of the lunch period. We do have the expectation that this is a privilege, and that if students are going to leave campus, then they're committing to being back on time. And if we notice a pattern with students, then we will have conversation with them and with their parents about removing that lunch privilege for individual students, not for a whole group. If you were with us last year, or if you know anything about kind of how COVID worked in the spring in Montgomery County Public Schools, we did not have open lunch in the spring. And we are very excited. And I know that our students, especially our upperclassmen, are very excited that they get to have open lunch again. I do also want to point out, though, that we do have a school cafeteria that is open to everyone, serves a full variety of hot and cold food items. And for this year, all of those, the main entrees will be free for every student. And we'll have 2 spots set up in the school, actually, where students can pick up those entrees in the cafeteria. And then actually in our concession stand outside the gym, we're going to have another location where students can pick up those items. Ms. Roscala, I think you are back on.
Thank you. So I'm going to share with you a little bit about the ways in which your student can get involved at BCC. So we know that the high school experience is academics. However, that piece of getting involved is crucial for their social emotional learning and also building skills outside of the classroom. And really, BCC can seem like a huge school. And my piece of advice to students when I saw them today and I saw them during the tours is to get involved and to step out of their comfort zone in order to meet different people and to make the school feel smaller. So we have over 100 clubs and teams for students to be involved in. And what I heard is if there's a club that is not there, they can create it with the approval, of course, of Dr. Mooney, but there's a lot of freedom and flexibility there. At the end of September, there's an amazing clubs fair where every club has their club on display in front of the school during lunch, and students can just step out of the building and see that and get involved in clubs that way. We also have an athletics program, and we are currently in our fall season, but here on the screen, you could see that we have our winter tryouts starting November 15th, and our spring season tryouts start March 1st. And the contact person is our athletics director, Mr. Mike Croswell, and his email is here for you if you would like to contact him with questions about sports. Another fantastic opportunity that students have in high school, which they also had in middle school, but in high school, it's a lot more involved, is the Student Government Association. We have a class SGA, so the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th have officers that represent that class, but we also have a school-wide SGA officers. And this really is a great way to connect the school, to listen to students and build spirit. I know the class officers are working really hard to build spirit and to kind of bring everyone's spirits up with the year that we had. And really, they plan dances, they fundraise, they do a lot of work around the school. So that is a great opportunity for your student to take advantage of, to get involved. And especially 9th grade, they will be holding elections at the very beginning of the year, and they'll hear more information about that. And we don't have any officers for the 9th grade class. So that's a wonderful opportunity for them to step out of their comfort zone and to really make BCC a smaller school and make it feel like their community. I'm going to share a little bit. I'll transition us to our IB, or International Baccalaureate programs. I was extremely wowed when I came to BCC to know that they didn't just have one IB program, there were two. So BCC actually offers the IB program to 9th and 10th graders, which is called the Middle Years Program, which every 9th and 10th grade student is automatically a part of. And part of that MYP program, students at the end of their 10th grade year will complete a personal project. And they would have spent approximately 25 hours engaging in investigation, really honing in on a topic that is interesting to them. So they really have ownership with that. And this year we have Mr. Lewis, who will be our MYP coordinator, and he can answer more of your questions about that. And he will really facilitate the personal project. It's very guided for students throughout their 10th grade year. And then for their 11th and 12th grade year, students have the opportunity to take IB courses and to also earn the diploma, the IB diploma. They don't have to take IB courses. They could take a few, or they could just go complete IB diploma and earn that at the end of their senior year. So there will be meetings held for 10th grade students and families, and Ms. Smithson will get that information out to families about our IB diploma program. And that is all we have for you this evening. I just wanted to say thank you all for coming. I really appreciate having you all here. If you have any questions or need anything, and I'm the administrator, or if I'm not, I'm here for you. You can always send me an email. I look forward to meeting you, hopefully, and working with you all this year.
Thank you very much, Ms. Roscala. So we have a few minutes before 8 o'clock. I said at the beginning that we would end by 8 o'clock. I want to ask the administrative team that was answering questions in the Q&A if there are any big themes that we want to come back and touch on. There is one that I saw as I was scrolling through, and I just want to go back to the idea of administrators and who you contact for what. And it is different. It's always a challenge when you have 5 administrators and 4 grade levels, how you divide that up. The reason we have the alphabetical breakdown for student support is so that if you remember when you saw the slide about the counselors, our counselors are broken down by alphabet. So we are interested in having really a small focused group of students who are focused group of educators who are supporting each student. So if your last name starts with A, you're supported by Ms. Reveron and Ms. Roscala, instead of Ms. Roscala having to work with every single 9th grade counselor. So that's why we have that. But the real answer to that question is, if you have something that's related to your student and you don't know who to reach out to the administrator that you think the one that you've had the last contact with. And if for some reason it doesn't really fit kind of what you're asking, our team works really well and really closely together. And if it's a question that Ms. Roscala gets that really should be for Ms. Adamson, they'll talk to each other and they'll talk about how to answer that, and the right person will get back in touch with you. So that's something important to know. Another piece that I heard earlier as a question that had been going around a little bit, I want to just point out. There is, last year we spent a lot of time talking in the spring about students needing to have an Ncps Chromebook. That is still the case, and it's important to know that they've done a lot of work to our firewall, a lot of upgrades to our internet safety and security inside the building. In fact, sometimes things that we think should open for us as administrators on our own computers don't open. So students can try bringing in their own personal devices. I know that some people have a preference for something else over a Chromebook, but we don't offer any tech support at all in the building if you bring in your own device and can't access something. So the Chromebooks are available if you don't have one already that's an MCPS assigned device. Definitely you work with Mr. Beskowski, who is our media specialist, to get one. But it is something that for you to know, you can try out your own device, but we can't support it in any way. So from the rest of the admin team, were there any questions that you saw or any themes of questions that you saw that you think we need to come back to?
Dr. Mooney, there were a number of questions about parent view, and I think really the simple message to come back to is that if you need support with parent view, please reach out to your child's administrator. That would be a good one to go to for your child's support administrator, your alphabetical administrator, or your child's counselor. And we all have the mechanism to get you the information that you need to register. So that's a quick one. And then the other one with ConnectEd, just because I think it's a new word, just know that ConnectEd is how we reach you.
So thank you, Mr. Nelson. Ms. Roscala, can you go back to the alphabetical breakdown for the administrators just so people can see that again? Yes, ConnectEd is, I apologize. Sometimes we say words that we assume everyone knows what means. If you have ever gotten an email that says, I believe it says it comes from Blackboard Connect or no reply, it probably came through ConnectEd. It's just a messaging system that MCPS uses to allow us to send out mass emails and communications.
Dr. Mooney, one that came up a couple times is lockers, and I thought it might be helpful to explain like our culture in using lockers, because that's a big change for middle school.
Absolutely. So we have about 2,600 lockers at BCC, and my understanding is that 2 years ago, about 150 of them were assigned to students. We made the change just before I came to BCC that we don't assign a locker to every student. We simply assign lockers to students who request them. And that's actually done through our security team. We have 5 members of our security team who are all able to help students get a locker. So if you have a child who wants a locker, all they have to do is reach out to a member of our security team. They'll help them identify the best location in the building for their locker based on either where they start the day or where they end the day. Just a good thing to know, because sometimes students could get assigned a locker if we did for everyone that's nowhere near anything that they have during the day. So security team helps with that, but we really do not see students using lockers. It's just something that's kind of from my time in high school when it was really important for me to have a locker, which was a long, long time ago now.
Dr. Mooney, a parent is asking the difference between what kinds of issues administrators handle and what's the difference with what counselors do.
So really it can be either way. So a part of that is kind of what our individual training is. So as administrators, we really think about what are the things that are going to help your student be successful academically. Like, what are the instructional techniques? What support do you need? Where are you going with that? And counselors would be a little bit more on the emotional side of that. It doesn't mean that they don't think about ways for students to get academic support or ways for them to have additional resources, but really we're there. It's important, what I said earlier, it's important that you know that this year we're really trying to focus on administrators and counselors working really closely. So if there's an issue with a student, We're going to have, Miss Adamson working closely with the counselors who correspond with her part of the alphabet, Miss Sutton working with her counselors also. So it's really about the kind of the emotional and social support for the counselors and the academic support from an administrator.
I'm not sure I see anything more out there as a trend. We do have some questions still being worked on.
Thank you all very much for joining us tonight. I am going to stop the stream and the recording at this point. Do we have questions, Mr. Nelson, you said, that are still being answered?
We have a handful, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all very much. We will finish answering those questions, and I hope you all have a great evening, and we hope to be able to see you in school soon.